Om Shanti. And welcome. This is Rose from Brahma Kumaris in Glasgow. And we're going to talk about the power of speech. Speech is that wonderful sound that comes from our mouths, which we can't blame on anyone else. And what you're feeling in your mind, it will come through your words. So even if you're trying to hide something, the vibration will be in your words. If you're thinking nice things, wonderful things, that will also be coming through your words. So it is important to think before you speak. So when we practice meditation, it gives us a space to check our thoughts. So if I've checked my thoughts and made some decisions there, then when I speak, there's a chance that a better form of speech will come through. So meditation can teach me to create really beautiful, peaceful, kind thoughts for the self. And because who's listening? Who am I speaking to? I'm speaking to others. So for the self and others. So can we speak in the awareness that we're a soul, not a body? This makes a whole world of difference. So is it possible to have the attitude that you're speaking as a soul and speaking to a soul? If I speak a lot, inevitably there will be some wasteful words. Why? Because if I speak too much, I'll have lost control. Is it possible to speak less and to speak sweet words? Now, it's not a case of forcing the self to be quiet, but it's wise to speak less. Because speaking a lot will use up lots of energy, and this will exhaust you, as well as taking away my energy. It will also use up my time, and I use up other people's time and energy as they have to listen to me. When small events are turned into epic stories, then I know time is being wasted. So it is respectful to be careful about what I say and how much I say. This can only happen naturally when I become careful about my thoughts. So if I teach myself to love stillness, stillness is a great sign of self-respect. To share a laugh is nice, it's lovely, but if it goes too far, then I'm throwing away my life energy and using up other people's time and energy. So we're not here as entertainers. We're here as respectful people, being respectful of each other. So I have to think about how much information is really useful and necessary. And speech is more than simply sharing information. And if I have a pure intention within my words, then they will have real power. So if you really think about some of the most beautiful words and the feelings that words can invoke, because they do, and so we think of peace. What does that invoke in me? A calmness. Think of purity, I think of cleanliness and freshness. Love, I think of good feelings for others. Gentleness, that invokes beautiful energies. Kindness, hope, courage, happiness, we love to be happy. Brightness, fresh, sparkling. Cheerfulness, everyone loves cheerfulness. Coolness, cool, calm. Tranquility, we love the word tranquility. And then the divine. If I think of the divine, what does that invoke? Sometimes it takes us a wee while to really get to grips with that one, but that one is the highest energy. So what does that invoke in me? I need to think of myself and my highest energy, and then think of the connection. I am a soul. Energy. That energy affects my whole being, and it can come through and affect the whole being of others. Okay.
So how do you make it so that it's natural, that what you're going to say is uplifting, useful, timely?
I would say that for myself, I don't get caught up in all of that. I think of the sincerity of my heart. And I don't want to say things that are harmful. I want to say things that are useful. And I don't get into overly complicated ways of thinking or trying to please others through my words. If my thoughts and my words are benevolent and coming from a good position, they should be uplifting for others, because otherwise I will get into such a fankle of trying to think, what would they like me to say?
What's a fankle?
A fankle is a Scottish word which means a tangle. What would they like? I have to just say what they want me to say. Now, I can't work like that. I have to have faith in myself and what it is I'm doing and saying and why I'm saying it. I'm saying it for benefit, and it's actually quite natural for me. I wouldn't dream of saying something deeply hurtful.
I have the attitude you're a soul speaking to a soul. What is this soul consciousness? What does it feel like to have soul conscious awareness?
Okay. If I remember I'm energy in the centre of my forehead, then all the power for myself is there. And it's good power. It's the power of peace, the power of happiness. And if I can see that I'm actually sending that energy out to whoever I'm speaking to, because they're also souls, that can really, really help to uplift others against their conscious wish, because nothing but good can come from that energy. And the more I think that, the more I empower myself. So as I'm empowered with the best energy of myself, I cannot say anything that's harmful. Even if it's unusual for some people to hear something, but it won't be harmful. and it may resonate in some way. Because if I'm a soul seeing myself as a soul, I'm sending energy out to other souls. And if they don't like that, then they don't like themselves. They don't like to hear good things. Some people don't. But through time they may.
Some people like to talk a lot. Why do you think people like to talk a lot?
To fill in the gap. It's called self-consciousness rather than soul consciousness. It's what's expected of me. Don't know what's expected of me. I better keep saying something. I like people to go, ha 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 ha, I'm entertained. What's your story? Tell me more. And it's not so uplifting. So some people get nervous and talk a lot.
And some people get nervous and don't talk at all.
And some people don't talk at all. So if you're talking to people, you have to understand everything and be very careful, really, and loving. I would say loving.
Speaking a lot will use up my energy and exhaust me. Sometimes I need to speak a lot at work, and it's not, I can't be obviously talking about spiritual things. How could I minimise the use of energy so that I'm not absolutely exhausted at the end of a day where there's a lot of talking?
Well, I looked at this quite a lot. Even if you have to speak about things that are practical for your work, but if you have a positive inside attitude and you smile a lot and you try your best to remember that you are energy, that will minimise the tiredness effect, and it will also give a lot of usefulness to the words you're speaking. And when you speak useful words, even they're practical words, they will be useful to others.
So they'll have like a vibration in them.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to think about the power of speech. And the more you can think in that positive, you're thinking in a positive way, even though your words are maybe very businesslike and mundane, but that vibration is there and you're actually helping others. And they'll understand, and so they'll do their business a bit better. So, yeah. And you won't be so tired, and they will quite like listening. Okay?
Yeah. What about if someone is talking too much? I remember someone giving us advice on, if we were doing courses and things, if someone in the audience was maybe going a bit over the top and they're sharing time, some signals, some body language, you sort of say, that's lovely and thank you, that's lovely and thanks for that. It's quite awkward sometimes if someone's overdoing it. Have you got any, or is it just different in every scene?
It's different. You just have to be tactful, smile, thank you, that was lovely, that was very good, thank you very much, and as best you can, move on with tact and smiles.
So tact and smiles.
Tact and smiles, because they're doing their best.
Yes.
Yeah, they want to be involved. They're joining in, and that's where they're at. Okay.
It's really interesting that you can say the same words, but it can have a different feeling.
Yeah.
And how important the feeling is. Because I know sometimes I can say, but I only said that, but I know it was loaded with innuendo. Yeah.
I know.
Trying to get in some message.
And sometimes we think we can do that, but we never really get off with that, because people pick up the innuendo and they don't like it. And you yourself feel a bit guilty about the innuendo. And therefore your good feelings weren't there at that moment. So you try to do a double take there. You try to say something positive with a bit of touching on the negative underneath, and do a criticism at the same time. And I think that doesn't work. Okay.
What about when you do have things that you know are not really positive, that you somehow need to process? You know, can speaking to somebody else be helpful there? So, you know, sharing your thoughts or feelings, and you know that they're not how you'd like them to be, but do you think actually expressing them and sharing them with someone you trust can be helpful?
Yes, I do. I think it can be I think sharing with people is very helpful, and to share the sort of sincere feelings of your heart. And if things are tricky, and you're maybe given a bit of advice to show how they're not going to be so tricky if you do it this way or this way, it's very, very useful. And also it keeps us from being arrogant as well. Like, I know all the answers. Nobody really ever knows all the answers for everyone, you know. You have to just learn the answers as best you can for yourself. As best you can for yourself. Because if I practice being myself, as real as I can be, I'm encouraging others to be their self, their own self, as real as they can be. So that's really the work we do as meditators. Help others be themselves. So yes, sharing is very beautiful, very good, very helpful, very healthy.
I sometimes find that there seems to be such a lot to communicate in order to allow someone to fully understand. It's even something very practical, and it's quite frustrating to know how much to share, because don't want to say too much, but if I say too little, it won't be clear. And then I know that sometimes when I explain things, it's not always entirely clear, because I tend to sort of leave bits out and jump to the conclusion and think that people should just be able to read my mind and fill in the gaps.
I know, but people can't fill in the gaps, and they're less confused. You've got to be so clear. Even if it's just a tiny little bit of something that you share, you've got to go from one step to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's by thinking in a very, very loving, kindly way. And that touches the hearts. And people can often fill in their own gaps when they feel the kindness and the love. So yeah. And so the main thing is to practice the meditation, and that I'm a soul, and that I practice knowing that everyone else on this planet is a soul. And I have the faith that the best of them will eventually come out, and there will be a harmony and a unity big time. So that is the task of people who meditate. Okay? And the one above is the one with all the power, all the strength, ocean of peace, ocean of love, ocean of bliss. So if I can remember that one, and then see myself as a soul that's starting to bring all those qualities into my own self, I will be changing my energy, changing my life.
And the divine is also called the ocean of knowledge in Raj Yoga. So what kind of knowledge does the divine share? What would be a few highlights for you that you remember?
Well, the ocean of knowledge shows me the journey that I've been on, and shows me how the bits of the jigsaw fit together. It's very important, but not everyone will do that. But if I start listening to spiritual classes and attending spiritual classes, I'm likely to find out quite a bit about how the jigsaw fits together. And this is all very, very good for the self, to know the story, the big story, the story of the drama of the world, how all the different ways start to play their parts. Okay?
So that's an epic story that's worth talking about.
It is. Om Shanti. Om Shanti is a meditation on the power of speech. So what you feel will come through your words. So it is so important to think before you speak. And when I practice meditation, it gives us time and space to check our thoughts. And by creating that time, I can teach myself how to create really beautiful, peaceful, kind thoughts for the self and for others. Can you speak in the awareness that you're a soul and not a body? It makes the world of difference. In the center of the forehead, I am the light, the point of energy. This empowers the entire physical persona. Do you remind yourself? You have to keep reminding yourself of this, that you're speaking as a soul and speaking to a soul. Now, if I speak too much, there will definitely be some waste words. Can I teach myself to speak less? And to speak more sweetly? It's not that I have to make myself be quiet, but it's wise to speak less. Because if I speak a lot, it will use up a lot of energy, and this will make the self feel tired. As well as taking away my energy, time will be wasted. And I will use up other people's time and energy. And when I take a small event and turn it into an epic story, I know that time is wasted. So it is respectful to be careful about what I say and how much I say. And this can only happen in a natural way when I become careful about my thoughts. If I teach myself to love stillness, this is a great sign of respect for the self. To share and laugh is lovely, but if it goes too far, then I'm throwing away my life energy and I'm using up other people's time and energy. If I check how much information really is useful and necessary, the energy that's useful is I am a soul in the center of my forehead. If I can teach myself to keep that focus while I speak and think and interact for certain times, maybe not for the whole of the day, but for periods of time, and the habit will grow. Because speech is more than just sharing information. If I have a pure intention within the words that I speak, then they have real power. If I could think about some of the most beautiful words and feelings, then these words can invoke peace and purity and freshness and kindness and happiness, coolness and tranquility. And also, if I'm focused on the soul in the center of the forehead, I can also think of the divine, the one who's shared this information with me. The one who's keeping me involved with this power of soul consciousness, who I truly am. The respect for the self and the respect for that one becomes more and more powerful and useful for self-transformation and happiness. Om Shanti.